Scribble notes when I wrote these quotes. If I offend, pardon me.
What's up, everybody? I hope y'all are doing well. Hope you're thriving. Hope you're living your best life. It's me again, Jamil Ethan, back for another episode. So on this episode, obviously, as the title says, I'm going to talk a little bit about how you start your own podcast as a platform. I think as a creator, one of the best things you can do is have an opportunity and have a space where you can talk, where you can connect with your audience directly, and where people can like kind of engage with you. And podcast is one of the best places to do it. Not only is it good for networking and creating authentic, organic connections with other folks, but it's also a good place for you to control your own narrative. So you can talk a little bit about what you're doing, talk to people about directly like who you are, and kind of give them an opportunity to get an insight into how you think. Long form conversation, I think, is really where we're moving towards as a world, as a society, even though we're in a microwave world where we want things right now, we want all the answers today. I think people still really long for those long conversations, and podcasting is the place to do it. So let's begin. But before we get started, make sure you like, subscribe, and comment below if you really enjoy this video. All types of support, any of those things will really help the channel grow, will really help me get my word and message out to more people. And that's how we all help each other grow, is just trying to be there for each other. So feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. All right, now, number one. So the number one thing you can do is decide on what style you want. Like, I feel like that will be an easy one, but that's like a really simple starting point. Decide what style of podcast you want. Do you want to have an interview style? Do you want to bring on guests and like recruit people to come on your podcast to share information, recruit experts to talk about their stories? Or do you want to co-host? Like, do you have someone else in mind that you want to do a show with and that you want to connect with and have bounce off energy with? Like, there's all types of these shows. Or you can do your own solo show where you kind of talk about whatever it is that you want to talk about, whatever your subject matter is. You get to go on as the expert and talk about your experiences. All of them work. So I would definitely say, first and foremost, decide what your format is, because that's going to determine a lot of the other things that you do. Number two is simple. It's setup, microphone, and headphones. So if you really want a podcast to work really well, one of the best things you can do is just get a simple setup. I'm not talking anything complex. You don't have to get the Shure microphones. You don't have to go there yet. You can always upgrade the audio sound. What I like to suggest to people is to get something, get some sort of microphone, get some sort of headphones that you can plug in to then get started. Because one of the things that really detracts people is like everyone's looking for what's the best gear, what's this, what's that. Like watching these huge videos where they'll say like, yo, you need $10,000 worth of gear, you need $1,000 mic, you need a whatever. That's just not true. Like at the end of the day, your voice is going to connect with people, your dialogue is going to connect with people, and that's what's really going to matter. And when you find more money, if you find the finances, then yeah, you'll upgrade to the better microphones. Like, to me, getting something is better than nothing. And then wearing some headphones, that's just for feedback and for some of the more logistical things when you actually go to edit. One of the pro tips that I'll definitely give, which isn't on my list, but I think is just important to know, if you record your podcast like via Zoom or something, similar to me, there's a function in Zoom in the settings where you can record separate audio files. That's gonna help so much between two guests. You record separate audio files. So if you have like a Zoom interview, then you can make it so you can edit them separately, which will make the audio quality that much better. So if there's a punch in or something or weird sounds, you can like isolate them really easy. So that's just a pro tip, random on the side. So that's just a random note. Let's go to number three. Number three is find a platform to host your podcast. Basically, how I like to think of this is like you got to find a server. I use Anchor. Anchor is the place I use. It's super easy. It's free. There's a lot of paid sites that have all these different gadgets and other things that go with it. I use Anchor personally, and I haven't found any problem with it. You could upload your podcast to it. It's super quick, super simple. Also, not like an affiliate. I don't get paid to say this. I'm just saying what I use because that's what I use. I'm just gonna tell you what I did. I use Anchor. But there's all these other ones. There's like Podbean and all this other stuff. all you have to do is find a place to put your podcast and they'll upload it. Those sites usually will upload it directly to like Spotify and Apple Podcasts and all these other places so that you don't have to try to go individually to each site and Google Podcasts and such and try to like upload your podcast there. Like you don't have to do all that extra work. So definitely find a platform that works for you. Some of them are paid, so you have to like pay for our monthly subscriptions. It's really up to your budget. I just chose the free one because I ain't had no money, so that's what I did like a year and a half ago, and I was broke. Now I could do a paid one, but I just still like all my stuff is already there, so I just haven't changed. But yeah, it's really up to you. So that's just number 3. Number 4, simple for starting a podcast. Just find a place that you're gonna edit your podcast. One of the things that I don't necessarily edit everything crazy. I'm not really a big edit every single sound and whatever person, but I do like to edit my podcast so I can add my intro, I can add my outro, I can fix anything if there's like a weird lag or any weird sounds. Definitely find a platform. Like I'll use GarageBand. I used to use iMovie because iMovie was just way easier for me. It was so much more simple. But there's all these different places that could be free if you're Apple or Mac user. And there's other options if you are on PC. So find a place where you can edit your podcast. You can also edit on your phone, on like Anchor and stuff like that. You can also edit like on an iMovie on your phone or GarageBand on your phone. Like there's all these different options. But find a place where you can edit your podcast so that it could sound that much more crisp and professional after you actually get the audio file. Number 5. Um, Make sure that you get a logo and graphics. So this doesn't have to take too long. It doesn't have to be like this huge like thing. Like you can always change at any point. You could always rebrand your podcast. But when you're going to brand your podcast, think about what your message is and what you're going to talk about. Who's your like ideal audience? For Scribble Notes, for instance, this podcast is really geared towards people who are artists, people who are within like artistic space, writers, musicians. That's why it's like scribbled notes, right? Like, and then the podcast actual logo is all of the, and I might put it on the screen somewhere. It's all of the little images, like just something fun, but definitely think about that when you're going about your podcast branding, because once you have that, it'll kind of feed into everything else. Getting your podcast logo is a lot easier than you think. There's like a lot of different places you can go. I've gone to Fiverr multiple times. A lot of people, some people love Fiverr, some people hate it. But I think they're really good when it comes to like getting quick cover arts. There's thousands of people doing them, so it's really, really cheap as far as price goes. But you can get some really professional work done there, and it's really easy. So definitely get a professional cover art done, and that'll just help draw people in when they actually go to see your podcast, because that's just a big piece. It's like the marketing aspect. When you share it, that's going to be the image that pops up. So you really want to focus in on what that does and focus on something that actually appeals to your audience specifically. So whether it's the name or whatever, you want to focus on something that really appeals to the group that you're trying to go after. So that was 5, but I do have another one. Bonus. So bonus one is schedule. You want to make sure that you are scheduling your content out in advance. One of the things that I found was the best piece of advice I've ever received, and this is the advice I gave to my wife who started her podcast and a couple other friends. It's to make sure you have 5 episodes recorded before you ever release one. Part of the reason why you want to have 5 episodes recorded is because you want to be able to test different styles of podcasting before you actually start releasing them out. You want to test different like cadences or beginnings or whatever you like are really whatever you're really thinking. Like if you have questions or this and that for an interview, you want to be able to test and see like how does it flow in different ways. And then you also want to have a backlog of content. One of the things that happens with a lot of podcast creators, especially people who are new to podcasting, they'll start and within the first month or 2 months, they usually stop doing podcasts. So they'll stop uploading as often, or they won't have any episodes that come up. Part of that is because they start to feel pressure to fit it in the schedule. And it's because it's something new. You don't necessarily have the same energy as you do in week 1, like in week 7 and 8. So what you want to do is set yourself up for the best success. record 5 podcast episodes, and then you can pre-schedule those episodes for release on whatever platform you decide to use. That way, when you do start to run up against time crunches and you don't have more time to do episodes or something might change, you actually have episodes already queued up. So you can have over a month, if you release weekly, over a month of content already ready to go from the moment you start. And that'll give you a little bit more flexibility. Another thing with schedule, and this is just something personal for me, I like to release my episodes in like 2-month or 3-month bunches, depending for my seasons. You can choose whatever season length you want. Don't feel like you have to do it all year round, 52 weeks. You have to have 52 episodes. That's really not how it always works. Like you can take a week off here, a week off there. You can take 2 weeks off. You can take a month off if you want in between seasons. It's just up to you. So make sure that when you go into it, you know what your schedule will be. Know what your release schedule is going to be and then stay consistent to that. If you choose Thursdays, just do Thursdays. Like it doesn't need to be anything special or crazy. Just do the day you say you're going to do. So really stick to your schedule, because that's how you create an audience that knows what's coming. You want to train your audience a little bit to expect that your content's going to release on time and on schedule. And the best way to do that is actually have a schedule for yourself and start off with 5 episodes already in the queue, because that will save you so much energy down the line. And thank you so much for staying on this long. If you found any value out of this episode, make sure you comment. I would love to know what advice other people have or what questions other people have about starting a podcast. Obviously, I can talk a little bit about equipment and all those things in the comment section if that's something you care about. So feel free to drop that and like this video if you feel like it was great. Like I said earlier, it helps so much. The more likes and subscribers we get, the more people we can touch with this content, and the better off everyone else will be. So I really have appreciated this time, and you already know what it is. This has been an episode of Scribble Notes. Peace out.
Scribble notes when I wrote these quotes. If I offend, pardon me, there's more of me to grow. Creative in my process, enjoy the show. The will is different when you recognize the different strokes. Different folks, same goals, we all want the most. So when we reach the top, we can enjoy the toast. The type of bread we get is fresh about the bakery. Told them don't play with me, with or without a degree. Don't question my intensity, bravery. Similar to agencies that want to see you fold. So just pray for me. Einstein with my energy.